Hello, my name is Anthony Andrews, co-founder of We Are Parable and co-creator of Who We Are, the online takeover exploring Black British film in association with the BFI. And today I'm very pleased to announce that we have our winner from our Who You Are Filmmaking Competition, which is part of our wider online takeover. And we have Simisolaoluwa Akande, who wowed us with her film Ojumo Ti Mo. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. That was
First
a
of
very
all,
nice introduction.
I mean, it's not often I see a film that just completely blows me away, and your film absolutely did that. I mean, congratulations, first of all. I mean, it's such an incredible piece of work, and I'm really excited that your film is going to be shown on BFI Player. How does that feel? How do you feel about winning the competition?
I feel like I haven't actually processed it properly yet. I'm just like, the most that's happened is like loads of emails now, and that's like the most exciting thing, which is quite fun. But I feel like maybe until it actually happens, then I'll probably sink it in. But my family's definitely very excited. They're all like, wow, because like they're in it and it's all about them. So
Yeah.
I think they're a bit nervous as well, but I think they're mostly excited about it.
That's brilliant. Well, no, like I said, we can't wait for the masses to see the film and really just take it to their hearts as much as we have here. So just to get people sort of excited and anticipating the film, can you tell us a little bit about the film and about how it came around, how it came about?
It's basically a documentary that took place over like 3 months of phone calls. After my father passed away, we all kind of like lived in very different locations. So I was in London, my sister was in Birmingham, and then my other sister was in Czech Republic, and then my mum was like at home by herself. So like we all kind of found each other very much like at least physically alone, geographically alone, but we would stay connected through the phones. And my initial idea for the film was actually for it to be like kind of exploring like mundane conversations and just very casual and unexciting things about like what we talk about. But it kind of took a turn all of a sudden when me and my mom had this like heart to heart, and I was like, okay, maybe I should explore this because it seems like this is something that everybody needs to talk about. And I think thankfully enough, like I was very open with my family and being like, okay, I've changed the direction of the documentary. I want us to talk about this. And I had to obviously get all of their approval. And surprisingly enough, they were very open about it. And I just wasn't expecting that at all. But I think there's something about maybe being filmed or being watched that makes people sometimes actually come out of themselves a lot more than they usually would. So I think like that's one of the powers of like cinema that is actually works in our day-to-day life, like people feeling like they can be themselves on screen sometimes better than they can be themselves in real life. I think is a thing that I liked about it. Hope that made any sense.
Oh, that made perfect sense. I mean, one thing that always fascinates me is that when a filmmaker decides to make a project about one specific thing, and then on the course of them creating that thing, it turns into something else. What's that experience like? What was that experience like for you when you saw that it was evolving into something bigger than what you imagined it to be?
I think there was a sense of, because the film is so personal, so it wasn't just like a piece of work, because it was for school, it wasn't just the piece of work that I was giving in. When I saw it kind of transitioning into a more personal perspective, I was really nervous, but I was nervous because it meant a lot of emotional work for everybody. And one of my biggest concerns was feeling that I would be like exploiting my family's emotional traumas and burdens for a grade, basically. But I think it was nothing like that at all. I think it was incredibly therapeutic for everybody. And what was so interesting about it was that even because the way that the thing was filmed is everybody was only having conversations with me. So nobody really knew what the other person was saying until the film actually came out. And then I got calls from my sister and my mum going, wait, she said that? Wait, what? And I was like, oh, right, that's none of you have heard each other's conversations. And I thought that was really, I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but I think it definitely has changed the way that me and my family, we all like communicate with each other. So seeing that transition kind of showed to me the power of film, the fact that like it's beyond myself and it's kind of just evolves into whatever it feels it's appropriate, and I kind of just facilitate whatever the need is, I feel like, is more my job.
So one of the things that really impressed myself and Tian and the judges at the BFI Film Academy was that you're dealing with some big and personal themes in the film. And I just wanted to know what made film the outlet to kind of have those discussions and to communicate exactly how you were feeling. What was the thing about film that enabled you to kind of express these emotions, these very, very personal emotions?
Yeah, I think because film is so much about seeing things. I was having a talk with my friend the other day, and we were talking about like the power of cinema being kind of, if we see seeing as a very instantaneous kind of brain function, that's kind of like an object light to your brain receive, and that's what it is. Cinema is about disrupting that connection. Cinema is about kind of pausing and thinking, what exactly am I looking at? Thinking about how, you know, we create illusions in film, how we create depth and dimension and all these things. I feel like that's what makes film the perfect place to see yourself. And I feel like when you can see yourself, you can have a chat with yourself. You can be like, I think this is actually how you're feeling. Sometimes film allows us to split ourselves into two, and we can mother our reflection and look after our reflection a lot easier than we can in real life, I think.
The aesthetic style in this film, you know, the way that you've overlaid the text with the phone conversations and these beautiful visuals is something that immediately struck out to me, and something that, you know, has just excited everyone who's seen this film, who I've been able to show it to. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the creative choices that you decided to make in the film. So, you know, could you talk to us a little bit about that, about some of the creative choices you made?
Because I'm not a very skilled videographer. That's like the first thing. I don't know much about equipment, much about the technicalities of things. I think what my friends have described me as is like a person who can kind of like communicates feelings through images. And I think that's what I had to do. I think for me, a lot is composition, because I can't, because through the whole film, I didn't control any lighting. I used like completely natural lighting. So all I had real control over was composition. And I think I had like it was just me, my camera, and my family, and that was it. I think my aim was to be as simple as possible, because first of all, the phone conversations were like the star of the show, and I didn't want to distract from that at all. A lot of it, I think, is also, I didn't want to show my family's like faces too much. I kind of wanted to give them at least some level of respect, in the fact that, you know, you're already exposing yourself so much, like your face doesn't have to be there too much. I don't even know how the visual style really came about. It just seemed almost instinctual, like it was an instinct to be like, this is the appropriate thing to do. I think a lot of it was also just in the moment things. So for example, the part where like my sisters are like playing on the floor and they're like play fighting, like that was completely just random. I was like, might as well just capture this. And yeah, I think a lot of it was just kind of like, just picking like a natural everyday situations, I think was most of it.
And let's go all the way back. So I'd love to know how you decided that filmmaking was an area that you wanted to explore. What was the first film that kind of made you think, I want to do this? Was there a film like that? Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with film to this point?
It's so odd, because honestly nobody knows where it comes from. Like when I told my mom, I think I want to like go study film at, you know, the Brit School in London, I didn't actually say that. Like I just said I was interested in film, and then my mom was like, okay, well there's a school in London that does this for you. And I was like, I really don't know where it came from, because I wasn't necessarily like an avid film watcher or anything. I don't know why, it just suddenly one day I was just like, it wasn't one day, it was just over time. It was just like, this is what I feel like needs to happen. Like, I feel like I need to do this, which is really weird, but I think honestly, that's about it. But I think if I'm thinking about films that kind of made me get into films, I think when I was younger, I used to watch a lot of Bollywood movies. Like, it's a very big thing in Nigeria, Bollywood movies. All pirated, all very much illegal, but you know, it's the culture, it's the way that we do it. And we would literally all just sit together and be watching this movie in a language that we didn't understand, and it was all subtitles, and it was a culture that was so far away from ours, but it made sense. The feelings were still felt. Everybody cried when it was time to cry. Everybody laughed when it was time to laugh. Films seem to have this kind of like, it's not about you element, it's about us element, and I really liked that, I think, growing up. So
How many films had you made up until this point? Was this the first film, second film?
maybe like the third film, because
Okay.
I really started making films when I went to school, when I went to Brit for year 12, and that was the first time I'd ever made a film when I was there. So technically, like, we make small projects and everything, but I think this is probably my third proper film that I've ever made, which is good apparently.
Yeah, it's a good trajectory to be on for sure. And so tell me about some of the challenges that that you had specifically on this film, making this film. And you've spoken about the shift in, I guess, tone and focus that happened when you were shooting it. But can you tell us about perhaps some of the technical challenges that you may have faced when you were creating this?
I think technical challenges was, one, the fact that I wasn't shooting at home. Ideally, I would have liked everybody to like be at home and we will be together. But fortunately, we were going to Czech to visit my sister who's studying there. So I had to shoot everything in this really, really beautiful city. But I was like, oh no, like this city's too pretty for my film, because like it's honestly such a stunning place. But so I had to kind of cut out the entire place of the film and kind of angle things in a way where it could have been anywhere. And I think maybe that's maybe what people feel. I don't know that people can necessarily be like, this looks like it was filmed in Czech Republic in a hotel, which is where a lot of it was filmed. But that was a bit of a difficulty. I think the other thing was, again, I don't know much about lights, all of these stuff. Literally all I had was my camera and like a lens. And to be honest, I feel like that was a good thing. It was difficult because I didn't know what I was doing, but it made things a lot simpler. Like, it took the faff away from filmmaking and it just made it about me, the camera, and my family. And I feel like maybe that's how I was able to achieve such intimacy, because I literally had nothing else to use because I don't know how to do anything. But I think the technical difficulties of what really made the film like what it was able to be. So that was another thing was actually recording the calls, because this is 3 months worth of calls. My mum calls me about 3 times a day when I was living in London.
Yeah.
My sister would call me at least once a day, and then my other sister would call me whenever we felt like it. So it was sifting through a lot of audio files, and it was exhausting. And now, even to this day, whenever I hear like a phone ringing tone, like a duh, duh, I literally just go no, like, because I've just had to listen to so many. I'm sick of it. But
How were you able to whittle down the sort of hundreds of phone calls over that time period? I mean, that must have taken a while just to make sure that you were getting the things you needed to tell the.
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, sometimes it was like if I had recorded a phone conversation that I thought was really good, I'm like, this felt really good. I might try and push the trajectory of conversation towards like a way, like, although it's documentary, obviously there's an element of me messing with reality in that, in forcing people into certain types of conversations. So I think usually if I feel like I had a good conversation, I would like mark down the file on my phone and be like, I'll star it and be like, this is a good conversation. But I still had to listen to most of them, which was too much. But it was fine, to be honest. It was the worst part was listening to my own voice. That's always the worst part.
And no one likes their own voice, do they? No one.
Nobody does. Yeah.
So what does the future hold? I'm going to ask you a big question now. So what does the future hold for you? Off the back of this, we're hoping that as many people get to see this film as possible. But in terms of what you'd like to do, I understand you're studying film at university.
Yeah, I am.
What would you like to happen in the next couple of years?
I want to say like I have a plan and then there's goals, but I really don't know. I think a lot of people are probably also in my shoes, kind of even when I got this opportunity from you guys, what I wanted from it was like, you know, the support, you know, to help me grow my abilities and my future. But I really don't know where I want to go from here. I think ideally I would like to carry on making films, but I don't even know what those films look like. I don't know if it's going to be more kind of small, intimate things like this, or if I want to try and make like an actual like feature length, like cinematic experience. I don't know, but I feel like I trust that this art has got my back and I've got its back, and we're gonna work together to make sure that we make films that are necessary to be made, and even films that are unnecessary to be made. I think hopefully that's the future. That was such a non-answer that
That was a great answer. Because to be fair, it's a bit of an unfair question because like
yeah.
no one really knows.
It's not really unfair because like I'm 19 years old. I have like I should really have at least like a 2-year plan. But
believe me, I'm a lot older than 19, and you know I'm still working it out, so it's fine.
That's good. I have faith now. Thank you.
So you know, again, I have to say congratulations. This is the last question, but you know, the film deals with so many themes that you know a lot of us unfortunately go through, and you know the kind of processing of grief and there's almost the evolution of grief.
Yeah.
And you know, it's something that I certainly resonated with when I watched the film. But in terms of, you know, as we're starting to put this film onto a bigger platform, what would you want people to take away from the film, if anything?
I think the most important thing is like giving each other the respect of showing ourselves in the films we watch. I think the debate and the topic of the lack of inclusivity in cinema in general is always a big topic, but I feel like people always feel like they need to make films about really big things. I mean, I guess grief is a very, very big thing, but it all started from an angle of let me give my family like a time to shine. Like it's like I don't it's kind of like I don't see why an actor is more worthy to be on screen than like the people that are in our lives, like the real everyday people. There's no difference to me. I hope that people get from this film that they should make films about people that don't really matter, that they should take the risk and open up their own lives to cinema, because cinema will kind of hug you back, it will comfort you back in a way that it's been a tool for exclusion, and it's almost has a lot of trauma in it for a lot of people. Cinema, I think, having the bravery to put yourself in these things and put your face and put your heart into these things, you can only win by that. I think you can only win by that, because you're taking something that was hurtful and you're reappropriating that into something that kind of lifts you up and that lifts your community up. And I feel like, please do it more. Make films about your family, about your friends, because it actually matters a lot of the time. It really does.
Yes.
Yeah.
What a great answer. What a great way to finish. And I just want to say, on behalf of We Are Parable, on behalf of the BFI Film Academy, I would like to thank you for making this film. I would like to say congratulations. And I will leave the last word to you. And would you be able to introduce your award-winning film?
Ojumo Ti Mo is a short documentary about a family of 4 women who come together over a series of phone conversations to discuss about how they're dealing with the loss of their father, husband. So I hope you enjoy the film. That was